The first blood, the morning on Meridian's edge, arrived with two suns rising over crystalline oceans. Captain Marcus Webb stood on the observation deck of the colony's primary station, coffee in hand, watching the light dance across the water below. It was his 5th year here, and he'd grown to love the peaceful rhythm of frontier life. Then the sky split open. Kelthran warships materialized above the colony like metallic predators emerging from hyperspace. Marcus dropped his coffee, the cup shattering on the floor as alarms shrieked through the station. He'd never seen anything like these vessels, angular, aggressive, their hulls glowing with charged weapons. Battle stations. His voice cut through the chaos, but even as his crew scrambled, Marcus knew they stood no chance. The first bombardment turned the eastern settlement into a crater. 3,000 colonists, gone in a flash of plasma fire. Marcus gripped the console as the station shuddered, watching helplessly as more strikes rained down. The Kelthrans weren't conquering. They were erasing. "Captain," his tactical officer's voice cracked. Multiple evacuation shuttles destroyed.
"They're targeting civilians."
Marcus's jaw clenched. This wasn't war. This was slaughter. The assault lasted 40 minutes. When the Kelthran fleet finally withdrew, Meridian's edge was a graveyard. Burning structures dotted the landscape. Bodies floated in space near destroyed evacuation ships. The observation deck where Marcus had stood that morning was now exposed to vacuum, its outer wall torn away. He found himself in the emergency shelter, surrounded by the shell-shocked survivors, maybe 200 souls from a colony of 10,000. A child was crying. An old man stared at nothing, and Marcus felt something he'd never experienced in 15 years of service. Pure, burning rage. The FTL communicator crackled to life. A face appeared, female, distinctly alien, with luminous skin and eyes that seemed to hold oceans of regret. "Human vessel. This is Tessera of the Kelthran Diplomatic Corps." Her voice trembled. "I tried to stop this. The High Command wouldn't listen. They wanted to send a message about human expansion." She paused, her expression crumbling. "I'm defecting. I have information about their fleet positions, their strategic plans. Please, what my people did today, it cannot stand unanswered." Marcus stared at her, this enemy offering betrayal of her own kind. He should have felt suspicious. Instead, he saw genuine horror in her eyes. "Why?" he asked simply. "Because what I witnessed today wasn't strength. It was cowardice." Tessera's eyes met his through the screen. "And because I've studied humans. I know what happens to those who attack you without cause." She swallowed hard. "My people just signed their own death warrant." Hours later on Earth, Admiral Victor Strand received Marcus's report in the Pentagon's war room. The gray-haired commander read it twice, then set it down with a hand that shook, not from fear, but from controlled fury. 40 minutes, he said quietly to his assembled officers. They murdered an entire colony in 40 minutes. He looked around the room, seeing his own rage reflected in every face. "Gentlemen, ladies, humanity has been at peace for 30 years. We've explored, traded, befriended a dozen alien species." He pulled up a holographic display of Earth's military assets, fleets that had been scattered across friendly space for humanitarian missions, scientific expeditions, cultural exchanges. "Recall them all," Strand ordered. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we've built and prayed we'd never need." His voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "The Kelthrans wanted to send a message. Well, we're going to reply." The room erupted into coordinated chaos as orders flew. Within hours, humanity's scattered forces began converging toward Earth like a gathering storm. The galaxy was about to learn a terrible truth. Humans could be peaceful, curious, even gentle. But strike at them without cause, slaughter their innocent, and they would show you why apex predators don't need fangs to be deadly. The Kelthrans had drawn first blood. Now they would drown in the retaliation. The gathering storm, Lieutenant Nadia Reeves guided her interceptor through the debris field that had once been Meridian's edge. The silence was oppressive. Chunks of habitat modules drifted past her cockpit, some still bearing scorch marks, others carrying fragments of lives interrupted, a child's toy, a family photograph, a wedding ring spinning endlessly in the void. Echo 7 to command. "Approaching rendezvous coordinates," she transmitted, her voice professionally steady despite the knot in her stomach. "Copy that, Echo 7. Your passenger is waiting." Nadia spotted the small Kelthran shuttle ahead, damaged but functional. Her finger hovered near the weapon's trigger. Every instinct screamed that this was a trap. The entire galaxy had seen the footage from Meridian's edge. The Kelthrans were butchers, but orders were orders. The alien shuttle docked with her ship, and Nadia moved to the airlock, sidearm drawn. The door hissed open, and Tessara stepped through. She was smaller than Nadia expected, maybe 5.5 feet tall. Her skin held an iridescent quality that shifted between pale blue and silver. Where human hair would be, thin crystalline structures grew from her scalp, catching the light. But it was her eyes that gave Nadia pause. Large, expressive, and currently filled with unmistakable grief. "You're the defector," Nadia said flatly. "I am." Tessara's voice carried a musical quality, but it was strained. "I understand if you wish to kill me. Many of your people would." The thought crossed my mind. Nadia lowered her weapon slightly.
You're Kelthran.
"Your people murdered 10,000 colonists. My people murdered innocents," Tessara corrected, her voice breaking. "I am Kelthran, yes, but I am not them. Not anymore." She held out a data crystal. "Everything I know about their fleet movements, command structures, defensive vulnerabilities. Perhaps it will help your people make them pay." Nadia took the crystal, studying the alien woman. There was something genuine in her pain, something that transcended species. The journey to Earth took 6 days. At first, Nadia barely spoke to her passenger beyond necessities. But proximity in a small ship bred conversation. On the 3rd day, as they passed through a nebula that painted the cockpit in shades of purple, Tessara finally broke the uncomfortable silence. "May I ask you something, Lieutenant?" "Depends on the question. Why do you serve?" "Why do humans fight?" Nadia considered this. "Because some things are worth protecting. Home, family, people who can't protect themselves." She glanced back at Tessara. "Why did you betray your own people?" Tessara's crystalline structures seemed to dim. "Because I watched the attack transmissions. I saw Kelthran soldiers targeting evacuation ships, children's ships." Her voice hardened. "There is no honor in slaughtering the helpless. Our ancestors would weep at what we've become, a species that mistakes cruelty for strength. You sound like you actually care." "I do." Tessara met her eyes. "I spent 2 years on Earth as a cultural liaison. I attended your universities, walked your streets, met your people. I learned that humans value something my people have forgotten: compassion paired with courage. You protect the weak, not because they serve you, but because it's right." Something in Nadia's chest loosened slightly. "Tell me about Kelthran culture." "The real culture, not the military propaganda." So Tessara spoke. She told stories of Kelthran artists who could sculpt light itself, of philosophers who pondered the nature of consciousness across species, of her own mother who had been a teacher before the militarists seized power. As she spoke, Nadia began to see past the enemy soldier to the person underneath. On the 5th day, they shared a meal in the cramped galley. Nadia noticed Tessara's hands trembling as she held her ration pack. "You okay?" "I keep thinking about my sister. She's a medical officer in the Kelthran fleet. She didn't want this war either, but she follows orders." Tessara's eyes glistened. "When your people retaliate, and they will, she might die. Because of what others commanded." Nadia reached across the table, surprising herself by taking Tessara's hand. The alien's skin was cool, smooth, almost like touching polished stone. "We're not monsters. We won't kill those who surrender." "I hope you're right," Tessara whispered. "Because I've seen what war does. It turns everyone into monsters eventually." Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. James Holloway worked in a classified laboratory deep beneath Geneva. Tessara's intelligence had been transmitted ahead, and the xenobiologist pored over Kelthran fleet schematics with obsessive focus. "There," he muttered, highlighting a section of their shield generators. "Their defensive harmonics operate on a narrow frequency band. If we can modulate our weapons to match and then inverse the wave," he ran the simulations. "My God, we could punch through their shields like paper." His assistant looked worried. "Doctor, this could devastate their entire fleet." "Good," Holloway said coldly, remembering the footage of burning children he'd seen from Meridian's edge. "That's exactly the point." Above Earth's orbit, the gathering was complete. 600 warships from across human space had answered Admiral Strand's call. Carriers, destroyers, battle cruisers, and the pride of humanity's fleet. 5 massive dreadnoughts that had never seen combat. Strand stood on the bridge of the flagship Retribution, watching his armada through the viewport. Each ship represented humanity's finest technology. crewed by men and women who had volunteered knowing they might not return. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "all fleets ready." "Awaiting your orders." Strand activated the fleet-wide channel. His face appeared on every screen in every ship. "People of Earth's Defense Force. 43 hours ago, the Kelthran Dominion attacked Meridian's Edge without warning or provocation. They murdered 10,000 civilians, our families, our friends, our children. They wanted to frighten us into submission." He paused, letting the anger build. "They succeeded in one thing. They frightened us. They frightened us into remembering what we're capable of when pushed. Our ancestors climbed from caves to conquer their own world. They split atoms and walked on moons. They turned deserts into gardens and darkness into light. And now, the Kelthrans will learn what humans become when you threaten what we love." His voice dropped to steel. "We're not going there for conquest. We're going there for justice. For every life they took, we'll make them answer. For every child they killed, we'll make them remember. This isn't about territory or resources. This is about making sure no one ever thinks they can slaughter humans without consequence." Strand's eyes blazed. "Prepare for hyperspace jump. Let's go teach the galaxy what humanity looks like when you wake the sleeping giant." 600 ships ignited their engines, their combined light visible from Earth's surface. Humanity was going to war, and the stars themselves would tremble. The Crimson Advance, the first Kelthran outpost, never saw it coming. Captain Marcus Webb's battle group dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, weapons already charged. The outpost, a military listening station monitoring human space, had 3 minutes to react. They managed to. "All batteries fire at will," Marcus commanded. The Retribution's main cannons spoke, followed by a symphony of destruction from 40 supporting ships. Dr. Holloway's frequency modifications worked exactly as predicted. Kelthran shields flickered and died like candles in a hurricane. The outpost's defensive platforms exploded in brilliant cascades of plasma. "Target neutralized, Captain," his tactical officer reported. No survivors. Marcus felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret. Only cold purpose. Next target. Don't give them time to regroup. Across 17 systems, humanity's fleets struck simultaneously. Every Kelthran military installation within reach became a priority target. The aliens had expected retaliation, but not this, not surgical. Devastating strikes that left their border defenses in ruins within hours. In the Kelthran High Command Chamber, Warlord Creven watched the tactical display with growing disbelief. Red icons, his forces blinked out one after another. "How?" he demanded. "Our intelligence said humans were explorers, scientists. Where did this military machine come from?" His intelligence officer's voice shook. "Sir, they've been holding back for decades. Their peacetime fleet was a fraction of their actual military capacity. They've been building, preparing, just hoping they'd never need it." Creven's scaled fist slammed down. "Then we've awakened something that should have remained sleeping." Aboard Nadia's interceptor, now part of the main assault fleet, she and Tessara monitored the battle reports. Each Kelthran defeat was met with mixed emotions. Nadia felt grim satisfaction, justice for Meridian's Edge, but Tessara grew quieter with each destroyed station. "That outpost in the Valoran system," Tessara said softly, pointing to the tactical display. "My sister was stationed there 2 months ago. I don't know if she's still—" Nadia's hand found Tessara's again, the gesture becoming natural now. "We're broadcasting surrender terms. Anyone who stands down will be spared. Will they, though?" Tessara turned to face her, those large eyes searching. "When your people are this angry, when they've suffered this much, will mercy really be possible?" "I don't know," Nadia admitted. "But I have to believe we're better than what we're fighting against." Their ship was assigned to reconnaissance, gathering intelligence for the main push. This meant slipping behind enemy lines, close enough to taste danger. Nadia found herself grateful for Tessara's presence. The alien woman knew Kelthran protocols, could predict patrol patterns, had access codes that hadn't been changed yet. They infiltrated a listening post on the edge of the Kronos sector, docking at a maintenance bay that Tessara had used during her diplomatic service. The station was small, minimally crude, perfect for intelligence gathering. "Stay close," Nadia whispered as they moved through the corridors. She wore light armor. Tessara wore a borrowed human uniform. "If shooting starts, get behind me." "Such a protector," Tessara murmured, and despite the danger, Nadia caught something warm in her tone. They reached the data core without incident. While Tessara interfaced with the systems, Nadia stood guard, weapon ready. Minutes passed like hours. "I'm in," Tessara finally whispered, downloading their fleet movements, communication protocols, defensive coordinates. Oh no, what? They're planning another attack. 3 human colonies, simultaneous strikes intended to force Earth to negotiate. Tessara's crystalline structures actually turned darker. They haven't learned anything. How long do we have? 72 hours, an alarm shrieked. They'd been detected. Run! Nadia grabbed Tessara's hand, pulling her toward the exit. Kelthran soldiers appeared at the corridor's end, weapons raised. Nadia fired without hesitation, her shots precise. 2 aliens fell. They sprinted through twisting passages, alarms wailing. More soldiers converged. Nadia fought with practiced efficiency, but they were outnumbered. A plasma bolt seared past her head, so close she felt the heat. Tessara suddenly pulled her into a maintenance shaft. They crawled through darkness, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind them. When they emerged, they were near the docking bay, but 4 soldiers blocked their path. "Traitor!" One of them hissed at Tessara. "You'll die with the human." Tessara stepped forward, surprising everyone, including Nadia. "No, you'll let us pass, because the data I just stole will save millions of lives on both sides. If you stop us, you're as guilty of genocide as those who ordered Meridian's Edge." The soldiers hesitated. One lowered his weapon. The others followed. They made it to their ship and broke orbit just as reinforcements arrived. Hyperspace swallowed them seconds before Kelthran fighters could fire. In the safety of transit, Nadia found herself shaking with adrenaline. Tessara wasn't much better. They sat in the cockpit, hearts racing, the danger finally hitting them. "You saved us," Nadia said. "Those soldiers listened to you." "Not all Kelthrans are monsters," Tessara replied. "Some of us remember what we used to be." She looked at Nadia, and something unspoken passed between them. "Thank you for protecting me. No one has done that in a long time." Nadia reached out, cupping Tessara's face. The cool, smooth skin felt right beneath her palm. "I won't let anything happen to you." Their lips met, a moment stolen from war, desperate and tender. Human warmth against alien cool. When they parted, both were breathless. "This is insane," Tessara whispered. "We're from different worlds, different species in the middle of a war." "I don't care," Nadia interrupted. "I've watched you risk everything for what's right. I've seen your compassion, your courage. That's who you are, not your species." Tessara's eyes glistened with emotion. When this is over, Nadia promised, "we'll figure it out together." Meanwhile, Marcus Webb's fleet regrouped at the staging point. 60 ships had become 80 as reinforcements arrived. They destroyed 12 outposts without losing a single vessel. "The Kelthrans were reeling, Captain," his communications officer called. "Encrypted transmission from Echo 7. Lieutenant Reeves reporting critical intelligence." Marcus read the decoded message and felt ice in his veins. Another attack planned. 3 colonies. Thousands more lives at stake. He activated the command channel. "All ships, new coordinates received. We're changing strategy. Admiral Strand, we need to intercept their attack fleet before they reach human space." Strand's face appeared on screen. "Agreed. The gloves are off, Captain. Find their fleet and break them." No half measures. Marcus Webb allowed himself a cold smile. "Understood, Admiral. It's time to show them what real warriors look like." The human armada turned, engines burning bright, racing toward the decisive battle that would make legends or corpses of them all. The Kelthrans had wanted war. Now they would get it, in full measure. Burning skies, the Kelthran attack fleet assembled in the outer reaches. 70 warships, enough firepower to level planets. They prepared to jump toward 3 human colonies. New Seattle, Harmony Station, and Terra Nova. Warlord Kreven commanded from his flagship, convinced that humanity would sue for peace once more civilians died. He was wrong about everything. Admiral Victor Strand's forces dropped out of hyperspace directly in their path. 120 human ships materialized like a wall of steel, blocking the route to innocent lives. The surprise was total. "All batteries," Strand commanded calmly. "Show them what happens to those who target civilians." The opening salvo was apocalyptic. Human weapons, modified with Dr. Holloway's frequency targeting, tore through Kelthran shields like tissue paper. 5 enemy ships exploded in the first 30 seconds. 10 more followed within a minute. Marcus Webb's task force flanked from the left, precision strikes taking out command vessels. On his tactical display, enemy formations crumbled. They're breaking ranks. His tactical officer reported. Don't let them scatter, Marcus ordered. Pursuit pattern Delta, no escapes. The battle became a masterclass in human warfare. Every maneuver calculated, every shot placed with surgical precision. Where the Kelthrons fought with brute force, humans fought with lethal intelligence. They'd studied their enemy, learned their tactics, and exploited every weakness. Aboard the Retribution's fighter wing, pilots wove through the chaos with breathtaking skill. One young pilot, barely 22, took down 3 enemy interceptors in 15 seconds. Another disabled a Kelthron cruiser's engines with a single, perfectly placed missile. This was humanity's answer to Meridian's Edge. Not blind revenge, but calculated justice delivered with overwhelming force. In his command chamber, Warlord Creven watched his fleet die. Ship after ship went dark on his display. His officers shouted conflicting reports. Panic spread like fire. How are they doing this? He demanded. They're smaller, fewer in number. They're better, his tactical officer said quietly. Warlord, we need to retreat, now, before they annihilate us completely. Pride warred with survival. Finally, Creven gave the order. All ships fall back to Kelthron space. Emergency jump! But the humans had anticipated this too. Marcus Webb's interceptors had quietly positioned themselves along the retreat vectors. As Kelthron ships tried to flee, they ran straight into another ambush. Light them up, Marcus said softly. More explosions bloomed in the void. Some Kelthron ships managed to escape into hyperspace, but they left behind 40 destroyed vessels and thousands dead. The attack fleet that was supposed to terrorize human colonies had been shattered. Far from the main battle, Nadia and Tessara watched the tactical feeds in their interceptor, part of the reconnaissance screen. Nadia felt satisfaction seeing justice delivered. Tessara felt only sorrow. So many dead, Tessara whispered. On both sides now. They chose this, Nadia replied, but her voice was gentle. She understood Tessara's pain. Your people could have pursued peace. They chose murder instead. I know. Tears, or something like them, slid down Tessara's face. Her crystalline structures had turned almost gray with grief. I see those ships dying and wonder how many were like my sister, following orders, not believing in the cause, but too afraid to resist. Nadia pulled Tessara close, feeling the alien woman's cool body against her own warmth. When this is over, we'll make sure the peace honors both sides. The innocent on all sides, Tessara turned in her arms, those large eyes meeting hers. You really believe that's possible? I have to, Nadia said. Otherwise, what are we fighting for? They kissed again, deeper this time. Hands explored, discovering differences and similarities. Tessara's skin might be cool and smooth, her body structure slightly different, but the need for connection, for comfort, for love, that transcended species. I never thought I'd find this, Tessara murmured against Nadia's lips. Especially not in the middle of war. Especially not with someone from the species my people attacked. Life doesn't wait for convenient moments, Nadia replied, tracing patterns on Tessara's shoulder. We take what happiness we can, when we can. They made love in the quiet of their ship, suspended between stars and war. It was awkward at first. Different anatomies required patience and communication. But they learned each other, gentle and urgent by turns, finding that desire speaks a universal language. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the small sleeping quarters, Nadia's warmth gradually warming Tessara's cooler body. I love you, Tessara said quietly. I don't know if that's allowed, if it makes sense, if anyone will accept it, but it's true. Nadia's chest tightened with emotion. I love you too, and anyone who has a problem with it can answer to me. A priority transmission interrupted their moment. Admiral Strand's face appeared on the screen, professional but carrying an edge of satisfaction. All forces, the Kelthron attack fleet has been neutralized. 73% casualties on their side, minimal losses on ours. We're proceeding to Phase 2. His expression hardened. We're taking the fight to the Kelthron homeworld. It's time to end this. Nadia and Tessara dressed quickly, returning to duty. But something had changed between them. They'd found something precious in the midst of horror. A connection that proved not all barriers were permanent. Not all divides unbridgeable. As the human fleet regrouped and began its final advance, Tessara accessed her personal communicator one last time. She sent a message to her sister, praying it would reach her. The humans are coming. Tell everyone who will listen, surrender. This war is lost, but there's hope for peace if we stop fighting. I've seen it. I've found it with someone I never expected to love. If we can bridge our differences, so can our peoples. Please, sister, end this before there's nothing left to save. She couldn't know if the message would be received or heeded. But she had to try. The human armada jumped to hyperspace, engines burning like red stars. They were heading to the heart of the Kelthran Dominion, not as conquerors, but as a force demanding accountability. In his ready room, Admiral Strand studied the final battle plans. Marcus Webb joined him via hologram. We're about to make history, Strand said quietly, one way or another. Then let's make sure it's the right kind of history, Marcus replied. The kind where justice is served, but mercy is offered to those who deserve it. Strand nodded. Agreed. We'll hit them hard enough to break their will to fight, but we'll offer terms. This isn't about extermination. It's about teaching them that humanity doesn't tolerate the murder of innocents. The fleet emerged from hyperspace above the Kelthran homeworld. The blue-green planet hung in space like a jewel, beautiful and untouched by war. Around it the last of the Kelthran fleet waited, outnumbered, outgunned, but defending their home. The final battle was about to begin, and the galaxy would remember this moment forever. A new dawn, the Kelthran homeworld defense fleet formed a defensive sphere around their planet. 140 ships, everything they had left. Outnumbered, using outdated tactics against an enemy that had adapted to counter every strategy, they prepared to die defending their home. Admiral Strand's armada held position just outside weapons range. The humans made no aggressive moves. They simply waited, their presence alone more intimidating than any bombardment. In the Kelthran High Command bunker, the Elder Council gathered in emergency session. Warlord Craven was no longer in command. He'd been arrested by his own officers after the massacre of the attack fleet. Now, 3 elderly statesmen faced the reality of their situation. Our people are terrified, Elder Yasmin said quietly. She was the oldest. Her crystalline structures faded with age. The humans have shattered our military. They could glass our planet from orbit. Why haven't they? Because they're waiting for us to make the choice, Elder Torvath replied. He'd been one of the few who opposed the attack on Meridian's edge. Surrender or annihilation. They're showing mercy we don't deserve. The third elder, Heskin, pulled up the tactical displays. Our intelligence was catastrophically wrong. Humans aren't just explorers. They're apex predators who choose pacifism until provoked. We provoked them. A communication request came through, human source. The elders exchanged glances, then accepted. Admiral Strand's face appeared, flanked by Captain Marcus Webb. Both men looked tired but resolute. Elders of the Kelthran Dominion, Strand began, his voice carrying across light years. You authorized an unprovoked attack on a civilian colony. 10,000 human beings died, men, women, children who had done nothing to your people. You then planned additional attacks on civilian targets. This cannot and will not stand. The elders bowed their heads, shame evident in their posture. However, Strand continued, humanity is not interested in genocide. We're interested in justice and prevention. We offer these terms: complete military disarmament supervised by Earth forces, war crimes tribunals for those who ordered civilian attacks, reparations paid over 50 years. In exchange, we'll help rebuild your economy, integrate you into the galactic community peacefully, and establish permanent diplomatic relations. Elder Yasmin spoke, her voice trembling. You would help us? After what we did? Marcus Webb answered this time. We'll help your innocent civilians who had no voice in this war. We'll help the soldiers who were following orders. But those who gave orders to murder children, his voice turned to ice, they'll face justice. And if we refuse your terms? Heskin asked. Then we'll remove your ability to threaten anyone permanently. Strand replied bluntly. We didn't come here to conquer. But we will end this threat, one way or another. The choice is yours. The transmission ended. The elders conferred for 3 hours. Finally, they reached consensus. Broadcast our surrender, Yasmin ordered. Full acceptance of human terms. And may our descendants forgive us for the war we began and could not win. Across the Kelthran fleet, ships powered down weapons. Humans boarded vessels, peacefully accepting control. There were no executions, no mistreatment, just methodical, professional military occupation. On the planet's surface, human aid ships landed. Not warships, but cargo vessels filled with food, medical supplies, and engineers. The same species that had just shattered their fleet now offered help to struggling civilians. Nadia and Tessara's interceptor was among the first to land in the capital city. They walked through streets filled with frightened Kelthrons, seeing people peek from windows, uncertain of what these humans would do. Tessara spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Her sister, Helena, still in her medical officer's uniform. The two sisters ran to each other, embracing desperately. "You're alive," Helena sobbed. "I thought, after you defected, I'm here. I'm safe." Tessara pulled back. "Helena, this is Lieutenant Nadia Reeves. She's—" Tessara hesitated, then decided truth was best. "She's the woman I love." Helena's eyes widened, but after a moment, she bowed respectfully to Nadia. "You kept my sister safe. For that you have my eternal gratitude. She kept me safe too," Nadia replied, taking Tessara's hand openly. "We kept each other safe." Other Kelthrons emerged from hiding, watching this exchange. A human and a Kelthron, hand in hand, showing that bridges could be built even after war. Over the following weeks, the transformation was remarkable. Human engineers worked alongside Kelthron technicians, rebuilding damaged infrastructure. Human doctors trained with Kelthron medical staff, sharing techniques. Human teachers established cultural exchange programs. It wasn't perfect. Tensions remained. Some humans couldn't forgive, some Kelthrons resented occupation. But slowly, understanding grew. Captain Marcus Webb oversaw the war crimes tribunals. Warlord Krevan and 17 senior officers faced judgment for ordering attacks on civilians. The trials were fair but firm. Krevan received life imprisonment. Others received lesser sentences based on their level of culpability. But the tribunals also cleared thousands of regular soldiers who'd followed orders without knowing the full truth. Mercy balanced with justice. Dr. Holloway, the man who'd designed the weapon frequencies that won the war, surprised everyone by requesting transfer to Kelthron space as a teacher. He spent his days now helping Kelthron scientists understand human technology, building understanding through shared knowledge. Admiral Strand established the Galactic Peace Initiative, headquartered on a neutral station between Earth and Kelthron space. Its mission: prevent future conflicts through diplomacy, trade, and cultural exchange. 6 months after the war ended, a ceremony was held in the reconstructed capital of the Kelthron homeworld. Humans and Kelthrons gathered together, not as conquerors and conquered, but as partners building something new. Elder Yasmin addressed the crowd, her voice amplified across the plaza. "We began this conflict with arrogance and cruelty. We believed might made right. Humanity taught us otherwise. They showed us that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to rebuild. Not in conquest, but in compassion," Admiral Strand responded, standing beside her. "The war is over. The pain remains, and it will for years. But from this tragedy, we can build something better. A galaxy where disputes are settled through dialogue, not bombardment. Where different species work together, not against each other." He gestured to where Nadia and Tessara stood, hands linked. "Some have already shown us the way. They found connection across battle lines, love despite difference. If they can bridge the divide between our species, then so can we all." The crowd, mixed human and Kelthron, applauded. Not everyone was happy. Not everyone approved. But enough did to make a difference. That evening, on a balcony overlooking the city, Nadia and Tessara watched the sunset. 2 suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and violet. "Do you think it will last?" Tessara asked quietly. "This peace we've built?" "I don't know," Nadia admitted. "But I think we have a chance. We proved that understanding is possible, that enemies can become friends, that love transcends species." Tessara leaned against her, warmth and cool finding equilibrium. "I never imagined when I defected that I'd find this. A home with you, a future worth building." "Neither did I," Nadia replied, wrapping her arms around her alien lover. "But here we are. 2 soldiers from opposite sides, showing the galaxy that there's always another way." Far above, human and Kelthron ships patrolled together now, joint crews learning to work as one. It was awkward, sometimes tense, but it was working. Marcus Webb returned to Earth a hero, but he requested quiet retirement. He'd seen enough war for one lifetime. He settled on a colony world, teaching young officers that victory meant knowing when to fight and when to offer mercy. The galaxy watched, learning its own lessons. Other species saw that humanity, when provoked, could unleash devastating military might. But they also saw that humans tempered strength with compassion, victory with mercy. The legend born from the Kelthran War wasn't about humanity's capacity for destruction. It was about their capacity for both justice and forgiveness, the rarest combination in galactic history. Years later, the first human Kelthran child was born, a hybrid combining traits of both species, proof that the future belonged to those brave enough to build bridges. Nadia and Tisara attended the birth, watching through the medical center window as new life entered the universe. "That's our future," Tisara whispered, tears in her eyes. "Not division, but unity. Not war, but peace. It's what we fought for," Nadia agreed, holding her wife close. They'd married 6 months earlier in a ceremony that brought humans and Kelthrans together in celebration. A future where our children, all our children, can live without fear. The baby's first cry echoed through the medical center, a sound of hope that resonated across 2 worlds. The Kelthrans had struck first, believing themselves superior. Humanity had retaliated with overwhelming force, teaching a harsh lesson about the cost of attacking innocence. But the true legend wasn't the war itself. It was what came after. It was Nadia and Tisara, proving that love transcends species. It was Marcus Webb, showing that strength includes mercy. It was Admiral Strand, demonstrating that victory means building peace, not just winning battles. It was thousands of humans and Kelthrans working together, slowly, painfully, building trust from the ashes of conflict. The galaxy would remember the Kelthran War for generations, but they would remember it not as a tale of destruction, but as proof that even the deepest wounds can heal, even the bitterest enemies can become allies, and even in the darkness of war, light can emerge. Humanity had shown the stars what it meant to be strong, not through cruelty, but through the courage to extend a hand to those who had wronged them. And in doing so, they became legendary not as conquerors, but as peacemakers. The first chapter had been written in blood and fire, but the story that followed was written in hope, understanding, and the unshakable belief that tomorrow could be better than today. Above 2 worlds, human and Kelthran ships flew in formation, their combined light painting the darkness with possibility. The war was over. The future was just beginning, and it belonged to those brave enough to build it together.